Hey there, I'm Serena, 35 years old, and I call Lisbon home with my husband Kai and our two kids. I work as an accountant in a mid-sized firm, and honestly, my life has been pretty standard. Up at dawn, off to work, handling household chores, and keeping up with family life. It's funny though, I never thought I'd end up sharing such an incredible story. So here's how it all began. Kai and I fell in love back in college, and we've been married for 8 years now. After we finished our studies and found our footing in our careers, we tied the knot. A couple of years down the line, we welcomed our first child, Leo, who's now 6. He's such a bright little guy, full of energy and always asking questions. You can't help but love having him around. For a while, Kai and I were all about climbing the career ladder. We were determined to build a strong financial base before thinking about adding another member to the family. It was a tricky balance, managing work obligations, home life, and a young child, but we made it work. When Leo hit 5, we thought it was the right moment to think about another baby. When I finally found out I was pregnant, it was a joyful occasion. I can still recall sharing the news with my parents and in-laws. They were ecstatic. My mom was already brainstorming ideas for a baby shower, and my dad cracked jokes about needing to stock up on toys for his house. Throughout the pregnancy, I had all the necessary checkups, and everything seemed to be going smoothly. Watching my belly grow and feeling those first flutters from the baby was just magical. Kai and I spent hours daydreaming about our future with 2 little ones, picking out names and restructuring our home to prepare for our new arrival. The delivery was straightforward, or so they told me. I gave birth to a lovely girl, Mira. I remember that moment when I first held her. It was a rush of profound, indescribable love. Leo was smitten with his baby sister, always eager to lend a hand. Once we got back home, we went through the usual adjustment phase that comes with a newborn. Sleepless nights, diaper changes, and constant feedings. But something felt off for me. At first, I chalked it up to typical postpartum fatigue, but as time went on, that uneasy feeling only intensified. Mira was a calm baby, which only added to my worries. It wasn't the stress of caring for her that was making me feel unwell. I just sensed that something wasn't right deep down, but I couldn't put my finger on it. I found myself gripped by an intense discomfort, a feeling that hinted at a life-altering experience ahead. It was an ordinary night. Kai had just settled Leo into bed, and there I was, in the room nursing Mira, when suddenly a searing pain shot through me, radiating heat all over my body. Looking down, I was met with a terrifying sight, blood, an alarming amount of it. Panic washed over me, and I screamed for Kai, my voice trembling with fear. "Kai, I need your help!" He rushed into the room, and the moment his gaze fell on the scene, I could see the color drain from his face. Without hesitation, he took Mira from my arms and gently laid her in the crib. "Stay calm, love. I'll call for help," he said, though his eyes betrayed the alarm he was trying to mask. While Kai dialed emergency services, I fought to remain conscious. The pain was fierce, stealing my strength bit by bit. In the background, I could hear Kai's voice, distant but steady, as he relayed our details to the operator. The world seemed to slow down as the moments blurred together. I vaguely recall paramedics entering, asking me questions that felt surreal. The next thing I knew, I was being loaded onto a stretcher and wheeled toward the ambulance. Throughout it all, Kai remained by my side, gripping my hand and murmuring comforting words, though they barely reached my ears. Once inside the ambulance, everything began to fade. The paramedics' voices grew fainter, like echoes from another realm. I struggled to keep my focus on Kai's face, but it was becoming a challenge as my vision started to waver. I felt as though I was disconnecting from my body, beginning to drift away. That's when the first vision arrived. 3 radiant figures appeared beside me. Angels, I thought, radiating a serene peace I had never known before. Their presence enveloped me like a warm embrace on a chilly day. One of the angels stepped closer and placed his hand on my shoulder. Not a physical touch, but a surge of warmth and comfort flooded me. Without speaking, he conveyed a powerful message directly to my mind. "It's time to choose, Serena. Would you like to come with us or stay?" In that moment, I understood I was teetering between 2 realms. A part of me desperately wanted to cling to this life. I thought about Kai, Leo, and little Mira, who had hardly gotten to know her mother. Yet another part, Something within me I never knew was there yearned to journey with the angels. The tranquility they promised was incredibly alluring. I glanced at Kai, still holding my hand, his eyes pleading with me to remain. Amidst the chaos, I caught snippets of the paramedics discussing blood loss and my declining vitals. Their words felt so distant, so insignificant, compared to the monumental choice looming before me. The moment I made the decision to ask for help from the angels, a wave of relief washed over me. Surprisingly, my mouth stayed closed, but inside, I felt all my worries, fear, and pain vanish into thin air. The angels beamed at me, not just with their mouths, but with everything they were. A brilliant light began to envelop me, and I realized I was being gently lifted away from my body, from the ambulance, from everything I had ever known. Just before I fully embraced that light, I caught a glimpse of Kai's face, filled with love and concern. Then, everything transformed. When the brilliance faded, I found myself in a space beyond earthly imagination, like I was suspended in an endless void yet completely anchored at the same time. The colors surrounding me were vibrant and vivid, far beyond any hues I had seen before. This place had no walls, no floors, and no ceilings, just an expansive realm of light and energy. My three angelic guides from the ambulance were there, their otherworldly forms radiating a gentle, comforting glow. They didn't need to utter a single word. I instantly understood everything they wanted to convey. It was as if our thoughts intermingled, flowing freely in perfect understanding. One of the angels, the one who had comforted me in the ambulance with a touch, approached, exuding warmth and compassion. "Welcome, Serena," he communicated. "Are you prepared for your journey?" Caught off guard, I struggled to gather my thoughts, but before I could respond, the angels began to lead me through this extraordinary realm. We traversed distinct areas of this spiritual expanse, each pulsating with its own unique energy and vibration. Soon we reached a place that resembled an immense library, though it was unlike any I had ever seen. Instead of traditional books, there were spheres of light, each housing what felt like an entire life story. As I approached one of these luminous orbs, an influx of memories, emotions, and experiences washed over me from someone I had never met, yet somehow felt intimately connected to. Other spirits filled the space. Some appeared just as captivated as I was, while others radiated a peace that suggested familiarity with this ethereal environment. We communicated silently, sharing tales, insights, and reflections about our earthly existences. The wisdom and knowledge exchanged in that space was profound and all-consuming. After leaving the library, we continued on our journey. I found myself in a place that felt like a whimsical playground, only it was much more serene and breathtaking. There were children, or rather their joyful spirits, dancing and laughing, their laughter resonating like the finest melody. The joy and innocence radiating from them were simply infectious. As I took this in, a figure approached me, resembling a kind of spiritual grandmother. Her smile was warm, enveloping me like a comforting blanket. "Children are a treasure," she shared, her voice soft. "They remind us of the purity and unconditional love that dwells within each of us." Watching those kids brightened my heart, yet a pang of longing struck me hard. I couldn't help but think of Leo and Mira. It was as if this gentle soul sensed my feelings, because she placed her hand lightly on my shoulder, or whatever essence I had in that realm, and whispered, "A mother's love is one of the most powerful forces in the universe. Your children still deeply need that love on earth." Her words thundered through me, shattering the calm I had embraced. I suddenly felt a tense realization. I couldn't just leave my family behind. I still had so much love to give, so many moments to share. I glanced at my angelic guide, my mind racing in circles. He smiled knowingly and said, "You're grasping an important lesson, Serena. Sometimes it takes a shift in perspective to truly grasp your purpose." In that instant, clarity washed over me. I knew I had to return. But before I could voice this intention, my angel raised a hand and added, "There's one more thing you must witness before you finalize your choice." In an instant, I was whisked away to another realm, a cosmic observatory of sorts. Before me lay a massive screen pulsing with vibrant energy and shifting images. My guide's demeanor turned serious as he addressed me. "What you are about to see is critical. It offers a glimpse into the future of Earth and humanity. It's essential for your understanding as you approach your decision." Images began to materialize on the energy screen, unfolding scenes of catastrophic events, devastating hurricanes, earthquakes that toppled cities, floods that swallowed coastlines. It was haunting, painful to witness. "What is happening?" I gasped, my voice tinged with fear. "The world is clearly in the midst of a significant shift." The angel shared that what we're witnessing right now are the initial struggles of a brand new era. It marks the closing of one chapter while simultaneously opening another. Suddenly, the screen shifted to showcase scenes of political turmoil and global scandals. There was this overwhelming feeling, as if all the deep-seated secrets and corruption had erupted at once. A wave of sadness washed over me, and I whispered, "This feels like the end of the world." With a gentle smile, the angel reassured me, "It's not the end, Serena. This is merely the beginning." The images transformed again, revealing people uniting and supporting each other amidst the chaos. I watched as new communities formed, grounded in cooperation and respect. Exciting, innovative technologies appeared, promising to revitalize the environment and provide clean energy for everyone. "This is the awakening of human consciousness," the angel explained. Despite the pain, humanity would emerge with invaluable lessons about compassion, unity, and what it truly means to be human. I was struck by the incredible resilience and adaptability displayed by people, even in the face of overwhelming challenges. Hope and love were unmistakably present. "Why does all this suffering have to happen?" I wondered aloud. "Why so much pain?" "Growth often stems from hardship, Serena," the angel replied, his voice filled with understanding. "This purification is necessary for both Earth and humanity to reach a new height of existence. It's like gold being refined through fire." The images kept flowing, illustrating a future where technology and spirituality thrived in harmony, where humans lived peacefully with nature and each other. It felt surreal, yet that vision appeared not only achievable, but almost certain. "Every soul on this planet has a vital role in this transition," the angel continued. "Some are destined to shine brightly in times of darkness, others will aid in rebuilding after the old systems crumble, and there are those who will act as bridges between the past and the future." I fell silent for a moment, letting everything sink in. It was a lot to wrap my mind around, but somehow, it all resonated within me in a way I hadn't felt before. "What about my role in all this?" I finally posed the question. With a warm smile, the angel replied, "Your role, Serena, is something that only you can uncover. Just remember, every act of love, every moment of compassion, and each choice made with intention contributes to this transformation." I glanced at the visions of what's to come, a swirl of hope and anxiety mixing in my chest. How long would it take for these changes to unfold? "Time works differently here compared to Earth," the angel explained. "What feels prolonged to you can pass in a mere instant within eternity. The crucial point is that the transformation has already commenced." In that moment, something clicked within me, a strong conviction that I had to return. There was so much yet to accomplish, countless lives to touch and love to give. For the first time, my heart brimmed with a purpose that felt powerful and profound. "I'm ready to go back," I declared, looking at the angel. "There's plenty of work ahead." With a nod, the angel's eyes sparkled with approval. "Remember, Serena, you won't be alone in this journey. We will always stand by your side, guiding and watching over you. When the moment is right, we will reunite." Gratitude and love surged within me as I embraced the idea of going back, equipped with new insights and intentions. Making the choice to return was only the beginning, though. The actual process took longer than I'd envisioned. I felt like I was suspended between realms, acutely aware of both the spirit and corporeal worlds. Suddenly, I found myself at St. Mary's Hospital, floating just above my physical form. The scene below was unsettling. Doctors and nurses scurried around the gurney where my body lay, machines beeped rhythmically, and urgent voices filled the air. I caught sight of Kai leaning against a wall, his pallor telling the story of tears and worry. I longed to reassure him that I would be all right, that I would return, but words failed to come through. That's when I noticed something remarkable. Beside the physician attending to my lifeless body was one of the angels from my spiritual journey. It didn't interfere directly, but instead seemed to guide the doctor with a soft luminescence, almost whispering subtle instructions. Though the doctor remained unaware, it was a comforting sight. "It's time, Serena," the angel said, shifting its gaze towards me. "Your mission here is not complete. Hold on to everything you've witnessed and learned." A gentle pull drew me closer, as if an invisible thread was bringing me back into my physical self. As I neared my body, the bliss and lightness of the spiritual realm started to fade. I felt the heavy cloak of physical sensations wrap around me, pain, discomfort, and the burdens of reality. For a fleeting moment, I hesitated. The thought of abandoning that endless tranquility to face the struggles of the physical realm was daunting. As I floated back into consciousness, my thoughts drifted to my children, my husband, and the purpose I now understood had to be achieved. One last glance at the angel, beaming with encouragement, and I plunged back into my body. It was an overwhelming rush, like every part of me was reigniting itself. I flickered open my eyes, the bright lights of St. Mary's Hospital bombarding me, and suddenly, the voices that had echoed faintly now rang out clearly. I felt a familiar grip on my hand. It was Kai. "Serena, thank God!" he cried, tears streaming down his cheeks, a mix of relief and joy. "I thought I lost you." I wanted to share everything, the sights, the experiences, the deep revelations I had witnessed, but the words stuck in my throat. They felt lodged there like stones. How could I articulate something so extraordinary and life-altering? Just then, a doctor approached, checking my vitals. "Welcome back, ma'am," he said, his smile a blend of exhaustion and relief. "You really gave us quite a scare." My stay in the hospital stretched on as I recuperated from a significant postpartum hemorrhage. The doctor spoke of luck and miracles, but deep down, I knew there was a greater force at play. As I slowly regained my strength, I grappled with the weight of my experience. It had felt undeniably real, vivid and tangible, and not just some fleeting dream or a trick of my frazzled mind. Yet, how could I convey to anyone that I had glimpsed the future of humanity and stood among angels? For now, I decided to keep the majority of it to myself. I just told Kai that I had come close to death and seen a light. He appeared relieved at my recovery, though I sensed he suspected there was more beneath the surface. When I was finally allowed to go home, everything looked different. I noticed every small thing, the way Leo's smile lit up the room, Mira's cries, the delicious aroma of breakfast wafting through our home. Everything seemed imbued with a deeper significance. I was back, yes, but I was also transformed. I wasn't just Serena, the accountant and mother. I felt like a spirit with a mission that reached beyond the ordinary, geared up for a purpose that awaited me. The initial months back home were no walk in the park. My body was still healing from the trauma, which made even the smallest tasks feel monumental. There were days when simply getting out of bed felt like climbing a mountain. The doctors assured me this was all part of the healing process, that my body needed time, and I tried to take their words to heart. The physical hurdles I faced were only a small part of what I went through. The real battle was within me, a conflict that stirred my mind and spirit. Imagine trying to return to a standard routine after witnessing something so remarkable. How do you handle daily worries, bills, meetings, chores, when your eyes have glimpsed the spiritual realm in the future? Frequently, I caught myself gazing out the window, lost in reminiscence, recalling the serenity and wisdom that seem so distant now. Doubt would creep in, making me question the reality of it all. Was it a profound experience, or merely an intense dream triggered by trauma? Kai certainly noticed my transformation. It's natural for someone to change after such a near-death episode, but he understood there was more beneath the surface. One evening, after the kids were tucked into bed, he joined me on the couch, taking my hand in his. "Serena," he said gently, "I recognize that you've been through something profound, something I may not fully comprehend. Just know I'm here for you, whatever it is." In that moment, locked in his loving gaze, I felt a rush of feelings. I longed to unburden myself to him, the angels, the spiritual library, the visions of the future. Yet words felt painfully inadequate to capture such magnitude. "Kai," I started, my voice trembling slightly. "I saw things that shifted my perspective on life completely. Sometimes I feel like I don't fit in here anymore." He squeezed my hand, urging me to go on. "But I know there's a purpose for me here. I returned for a reason. Still, reconciling what I felt there with the mundane realities of life is tough." He drew me into a warm embrace. I might not fully grasp what you've experienced, love, but I believe in your strength. Whatever your purpose may be, we're in this together. Mira, Leo, and I, we're all here for you." That comforted me deeply, a balm to my restless heart. In the subsequent days and weeks, I dedicated myself to bridging the gap between my spiritual experience and daily life. I started meditating regularly, aiming to reconnect with that profound peace I had felt in the spiritual realm. I began appreciating the little moments, finding solace in the simplicity of life around me. A comforting hug from Leo, a toothless grin from Mira, and sipping tea with Kai at the end of a long day. These moments began to mean the world to me. After my brush with a life-altering experience, my perspective shifted. What once tarnished my view of the world, making me anxious or irritated, now looked different. I recalled the hopeful visions that the angel had shared with me, and it all started to click. The challenges we faced weren't just obstacles, they were stepping stones towards a greater transformation. At work, I surprised my coworkers with my newfound calmness. Issues that used to stress me out were now met with determination. I actively sought ways to create a more compassionate atmosphere among us. Sure, they were small changes, but each positive action added to a larger purpose. During lunch one day, a colleague named Mariana noticed my shift. "Serena, something seems off. You look different, more at ease. What happened?" For a brief moment, I thought of sharing my story, but instinct quietly urged me to hold off. Instead, I offered her a smile and said, "Let's just say I had a moment that made me rethink a lot of things." Her interest was piqued, but she didn't pry. Yet, I sensed something had sparked within her. Days rolled on, and I noticed as she too became more introspective, as if my experience resonated with her in some way. Slowly, I began to embrace this fresh perspective. The Serena who returned wasn't the same as the one who had left. That much was clear. I was learning how to weave my spiritual awakening into my everyday life. Though I had a journey ahead, the vivid images the angel had imparted still lingered in my consciousness. I knew humanity faced daunting times, but with each passing day, fear gave way to a sense of purpose. I was determined to contribute, no matter how small my part was, to the inevitable transformation on the horizon. So step by step, I forged ahead on this path of rediscovery. This was a journey filled with love, meaning, and realization. A journey that felt like it was just taking off. As the months flew by, the imprint of my near-death experience became clearer. It changed my emotional landscape and how I perceived the world around me. Some days I felt incredibly connected, enveloped by a calm that seemed angelic. In those moments, clarity embraced me, and a profound sense of purpose flooded my being. Yet, there were other days too. Days plagued by a yearning for that otherworldly experience that I once knew. The sense of peace and love I experienced on the spiritual plane was almost overwhelming, a stark contrast to the harshness of earthly life. Those memories sometimes left me feeling hollow. Everything here felt so complicated and imperfect. One night, after tucking the kids in, I found myself quietly weeping on the porch, swaddled in a blanket, staring up at the stars. Kai joined me, noticing my tears. "What's the matter, love?" he asked softly as he settled beside me. I inhaled deeply, struggling to articulate my feelings. I miss it so much, Kai. What I felt when I was there, it was just so beautiful and perfect. And here, it's so difficult. He wrapped his arms around me and we sat in silence for a while. Finally, he broke the quiet. "You know, Serena, I can't imagine what you went through, but you came back for a reason. Maybe the imperfections here are exactly what you need right now." His words hit home. I had indeed chosen to return with a purpose, but that didn't lessen the ache I felt inside. As the days passed, I began to notice how my emotional ups and downs impacted my family. Leo, always perceptive, started asking me why I sometimes seemed so down. Even Mira, a tiny baby, picked up on my restlessness, growing more fussy on my melancholic days. It became clear to me that I had to take control of this situation. Living between two worlds like that was unsustainable. So, I made the choice to seek professional guidance. Finding a psychologist who understood my experience wasn't simple. Many I encountered were skeptical or could only offer a physiological interpretation of my experiences. Eventually, through an online support group for those who had faced near-death situations, I discovered Dr. Camila. Our first session turned out to be a turning point. For the first time since my return, I was able to share openly about everything I had seen and felt. I spoke of angels, a spiritual library, and visions of the future, describing the indescribable peace I had known and the struggle to reconcile it with the reality surrounding me. Dr. Camila listened intently and with compassion. When I finally finished, she said something that resonated deeply within me. "Serena, your journey. The experience I had was beyond words, but now it feels like my job is to bring some of that extraordinary light into my everyday life." Over the next few weeks, I teamed up with Kai, and we explored how I could weave that experience into the fabric of my daily routine. I picked up mindfulness techniques that truly helped me find pockets of tranquility, even when life felt overwhelming. I also started journaling to let my thoughts and feelings flow, including that occasional yearning for the spiritual realm. One of the key insights from Dr. Mira was that this longing was perfectly natural. It wasn't something to fight against or try to suppress, but rather a part of my journey to embrace. During one of our sessions, she told me to think of this yearning as a gentle nudge, reminding me of the love and peace waiting for us beyond this physical existence. It shifted my perspective entirely. Rather than feeling torn between two worlds, I began to see myself as a bridge connecting them. Whenever I felt that longing, instead of spiraling down, I sought ways to infuse my daily life with that same energy. Simple acts became my anchors, whether it was sharing a smile with someone passing by, encouraging a stressed colleague, or giving Leo an extra hug when he came home from school. Each of these small gestures helped me connect back to that loving energy I'd felt just before. Kai started noticing this transformation one evening while we washed the dishes. What had once felt like a chore now felt like a practice in mindfulness. He remarked, "You seem lighter these days, Serena." I couldn't help but smile back, feeling a warm gratitude in my heart. I replied, "I'm learning to bring a little bit of heaven to earth." I could tell he might not grasp it completely, but he understood the essence of what I was trying to convey. My sessions with Dr. Mira also allowed me to confront the visions I had experienced, prophecies of disasters, conflicts, and massive shifts. Sometimes they would weigh heavily on me, especially when I watched the news and saw events that echoed those visions. Fear could creep in quickly, squeezing my chest. But Dr. Mira had reassured me when I shared these worries, reminding me that the future isn't set in stone. What I witnessed isn't the end. It's just one possibility among many. Every choice we make holds the possibility of shaping our futures, not certainties. These thoughts became my go-to mantra during those times when the news felt overwhelmingly negative. I would remind myself that I had a part to play in building a better tomorrow. Over time, I noticed a meaningful shift within me. The spiritual longing still existed, but it transformed from a painful ache to a sweet echo, an uplifting memory. Day by day, I found myself bringing more of that light into my life and into the lives of others. My personal healing path was ongoing, but I now possessed the understanding and tools to progress. Most importantly, I had rediscovered a renewed sense of purpose. I was merging my two worlds, combining the spiritual and the earthly with simple acts of love. As I navigated this journey of healing and integration, I also observed noticeable changes in my relationships. My near-death experience had ripple effects that reached beyond just me. It positively impacted everyone around me. With Kai, our bond grew deeper than I ever thought possible. Although he couldn't fully comprehend my experiences, his patience and unconditional support became crucial to my emotional healing. I began to view our marriage differently, not merely as a partnership in life, but as a shared spiritual adventure. One night, as we lay in bed, Kai casually asked me, "Serena, do you think what you've gone through has changed the way you see me? How do you view our marriage now?" After a brief pause to reflect, I replied honestly, "Yes, it has changed, but not in the way you might be thinking. I now perceive our love as something much larger than just us. It feels like we are two notes in a cosmic symphony, distinct yet harmonizing together, creating beauty not just for ourselves but for the world." For a moment, Kai contemplated my words before breaking into a smile and squeezing my hand. "I don't fully get it, but I love that idea. We're a symphony," he said. With Leo and Mira, my perspective shifted as well. I started to recognize them not solely as my children, but as ancient souls inhabiting young bodies, each with their own unique paths. This realization made me more patient and present as a mother. One day, while we were playing together, in the backyard one day, Leo threw me for a loop with his innocent question, "Mommy, where do we go when we die?" I was caught off guard, struggling to find the right words to explain such a complex idea to a 6-year-old. But then, I thought about the simplicity and beauty of my own experiences. "Leo," I started, carefully choosing my words, "I believe there is a wonderful place waiting for us. It's filled with light and love. We get to meet everyone we cherish who has passed on." His eyes widened with curiosity, and he asked, "Have you been there, Mommy?" I felt a wave of emotion wash over me as I smiled and replied, "Yes, sweetheart, I have. That's why I'm not afraid. But remember, we have a lot to do here before we get to that beautiful place." Leo paused, letting the words sink in, then smiled and returned to his play. I could tell that our little chat had somehow softened him, planting a seed of awareness that made him think more about his actions. It's interesting how my friendships shifted too. Some people distanced themselves, unable to handle the new version of Serena, while others drew closer. Mariana, my coworker, became a dear friend. Even without going into all the details of my hospital experience, she seemed to intuitively understand that something profound had happened to me. One day at lunch, she shared, "You know, Serena, since you came back from St. Mary's Hospital, there's something about you that feels different. It's like you have an inner light, and being with you makes me want to be a better person." Her words moved me deeply. I realized that even without outright discussing my experience, I was positively impacting those around me. At work, this fresh perspective started to shape how I tackled daily challenges. Conflicts that once stressed me turned into chances for growth. I began introducing small mindfulness practices into our office routines, like taking a moment of silence before important meetings to help us center ourselves. During an evaluation meeting, my boss, Mr. Ricardo, a results-driven man, remarked, "Serena, I'm not sure what's changed, but you've brought new energy to the team. The atmosphere feels lighter and more productive. Keep this up." Those comments made me realize my mission was unfolding in ways I hadn't even anticipated. Every interaction with strangers began to feel different too. I started viewing even the briefest encounters as meaningful, a shift in my perspective that transformed my day-to-day life in subtle yet significant ways. You know, it's incredible how small acts of kindness can really change a person's day. I often find it's just a smile for the supermarket cashier or a reassuring word for a frazzled bus driver that can truly uplift someone. One afternoon, as I stood in line at the bank, I couldn't help but notice an elderly woman looking quite bewildered and anxious. While most people chose to ignore her plight, I decided to step in and offer my help. We engaged in a brief but meaningful conversation, and I assisted her in sorting out her banking issue. Once we were done, she held my hands, tears shimmering in her eyes, and said, "You're an angel, my dear, a true angel." Those words hit me hard, not because I see myself as any sort of celestial being, but they reminded me of the radiant beings I'd encountered during a profound experience in my life. It dawned on me that, in a sense, I was channeling some of that same energy to those around me. As time passed, I couldn't help but notice a change within my circle of friends and family. People seemed to be more compassionate, more aware, and there was this newfound sense of connection. It felt like my own journey of transformation was sparking a collective change, albeit on a small scale. This realization brought a wave of hope over me. I remembered the visions of a brighter future filled with compassion and awareness shown to me during that experience. It struck me that this ideal world wasn't just a distant dream. It was being forged right now through every little act of love, each moment of kindness, and every authentic connection formed between individuals. Here I was, Serena, an ordinary accountant with an extraordinary backstory, playing my part in this grand transformation, not with grand gestures or powerful speeches, but in the way I conducted my daily life and interacted with people around me. This understanding filled my life with newfound purpose and joy. Sure, the yearning for a spiritual dimension still lingered, but now it was accompanied by an overwhelming gratitude for being present, right here, right now, making an impact however I could. As night fell and I watched Kai playing with the kids, a wave of love washed over me, so powerful it nearly left me breathless. In that moment, I realized how sacred this simple scene was, a family bonding together. This was itself a slice of heaven on earth. I understood with certainty that I was in the right place, living the right life. My journey was ongoing, but with every step I took, I knew I was bringing just a little more light into the world.